And away we go. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Big 12 Mafia Show on the College Football Mafia Network. We had to move one day, so I appreciate everybody's patience. And bringing Big 12 Mafia to Wednesday is a little bit odd, but certainly the topic du jour that we're going to be talking about is West Virginia, and it's a Big 12 topic. So I know there's still people that want to talk about that, the repercussions of where we are with the NCAA. And I got bigger conversations to be had about the way the March Madness and the college football playoff are organized and those committees are put together. So we hope to touch on some of those issues tonight. My special guest star this evening is Daniel Gygax. Obviously, he of late West Virginia fan. How are we doing?
Saturday, West Virginia. Oh, I just forgot the girl's name. She won the 3,000 meter indoor track champion.
Okay.
NCAA track champion. And then WVU's rifle 20th national champion, team national champion. Everything was doing great. Then Sunday afternoon hit, and you're sitting there just seeing teams get called. And whenever UNC was called and whenever Texas was called, it was okay, they're not in.
Yeah. It had to be very disheartening. I would have been pissed if that had happened to BYU, certainly. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. I just want to first do a shout out. Welcome everybody here to the show. Make sure you follow both me and Daniel on Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on X right now, consider jumping over to YouTube for a second, hitting that subscribe button, and also consider joining as a member of the College Football Mafia Network family. And we really appreciate everybody being here. We're growing steadily, and realignment never sleeps. It'll start to slow down this next 3 weeks because of the NCAAs. But then right afterwards, somewhere in the early to middle of April, it'll be back realignment time. And we'll be talking about things that still matter. The Pac-12 media deal, what the Mountain West is going to do to sort of backfill the schools they lost. What's the AAC going to do in terms of the ACC? And what does the ACC do to possibly get proactive to insulate itself as we move towards that conference eventually taking a change? I don't want to say a better or worse change, but some type of a change from what they currently are to what they will be once the biggest brands leave that conference to go play football elsewhere.
And you have to remember all the ADs, a lot of the school presidents, and every conference commissioner is going to be at the Final Four. So they're going to be out and about, shaking hands, kissing babies, and you might hear something probably mid-April, mid to late April.
I know this. The Pac-12 needs to get something done. They're losing the PR battle the longer this goes. Is it Texas State? Is it Sacramento State? Is it somebody else that we're not aware of? We will soon find out. But that's where we are today. We're going to talk some NCAA and West Virginia. So I want to welcome everybody to the show. First, let's do some shout outs as we get started. And then we'll get into the meat of the story. And then we can start talking about individual details of actually what happened on Sunday afternoon. Ryan Willie checking in, $5 super chat, member extraordinaire of the Mafia family. We appreciate Ryan so much. According to College Football on Fox, EA Sports is offering $1,500 NIL opt-in. Yeah, I retweeted something about that last night or this morning. Is $1,500 enough, Daniel?
I'm trying to remember what the NBA, NFL, and MLB get paid for that licensing right, and it's not that much. But also it's a part of a bigger licensing agreement that the Players Association has. So, right, like NBA Players Association, MLBPA, stuff like that. So that money, let's say it's only a couple thousand, but it's a part of a bigger licensing deal that all these players have.
Right. Well, in college, there is no CBA. There is no union, so there's nobody to negotiate with. It's individuals that they're sending these out to. And just so everybody knows, the number last year was $600.
Yes.
The return to college football, 25, is that what it's called, was $600. So this is more than double that. if I was a college athlete, money's. Do I want to go through a protracted lawsuit or something I need to do to try to get more money from a video game company, or just cash the check? If I was a player, I just cash the check.
Just cash it.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with that. Earl Carr checking in, representing my BYU Cougars. Go Cougars tomorrow. Earl, I hope you took the day off to watch that game. We need all support. Earl, thank you so much for everything you do for us, your memberships, and everything else. Thank you, thank you. Nathan Campbell checking in, saying hi, chat. Good to have you here, Nathan. Big Ears Bo, representing Mountaineer Nation, another valuable member of the College Football Mafia family. Good evening, guys. Good to see you, Big Ears. You'll have to tell us. We want your feedback, West Virginia people, especially in the comment section. Start telling us how you feel about what happened, getting screwed on Sunday. That's why we're here today, and I'd like to get as many of those comments in as possible. Let's see here. Ryan Willie again says there's a potential second round matchup between BYU and Wisconsin. If that happens, the Badgers will tear BYU apart. Wow.
Okay. I have seen exactly 0 games that Wisconsin's played this year. I have seen a number of BYU games, including one me and you were at, and they are deadly at threes.
Yeah, they're pretty good. It's sure.
It's scary to watch if you're an opposing fan.
Well, we'll see. I hope so. I hope they meet in the next round. Ryan, how about that? On Saturday, you and I can kick back and toss back a Coke, and we can watch the game via telecast if you want. I hope it happens. I think Wisconsin's a great team, and it'll be a great matchup for BYU. We just need to get past the Virginia Commonwealth. That's the thing. First round has been big problem.
And here's the thing. VCU, when was it? I want to say, like, what was it? 10 years ago, they went to the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
They can rally something together. They could be
all those
really
11
good.
and 12 seeds. There's always one every year that seems to make a run.
Yeah.
Skaven, yes, checking in. Good to have you here, Skaven. Another valuable member of the family, saying hello, gentlemen. Go Big Red for Skaven, yes. Let's see, MBM. Newer member, but certainly active. We appreciate you being around here, MBM. Good to see you. Is West Virginia pursuing legal action over the snub? We can talk about that now, I guess. So the governor went on TV Monday morning, put out a press release, and called it the National
Corrupt Athletic
Association. And put that on a label.
Yeah.
Put it on a podium, and he talked for maybe 2 minutes?
Something like that. I did see the press conference. It wasn't all that long. And even if they go in and rattle the NCAA's cage and try to do this, that, or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's already too late.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going for.
They did playing games last night. They're doing playing games right now. The tournament starts tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
What is this guy trying to do other than talk? That's it.
It has to be a political move. He's trying to cover his bases, telling everybody, see, I stood up for us, right? Mm-hmm. Vote for me. I stood up for the little guy.
He was the attorney general that got the portal rules changed. He just got inaugurated. Okay. He just went in as the governor. He was the attorney general that got the portal rules changed 18 months ago. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, activists, political leaders can do all kinds of things. I just don't know what there is to sue. The rules say it's subjective. They make up their own rules, so they can do whatever they want to use for a determining factor. In this case, they excluded the team not just because of their record, which their record was better than North Carolina, but it was the fact that they had a player that had been hurt for 4 months or something like that.
Yes.
And yet they had played all season without him. It's not like it had happened last week, like with the Florida State situation. It happened in the last couple weeks of the season. So how ridiculous of an excuse is that? Why not just come out and say, no, North Carolina is the number one basketball brand in college basketball, and we want them in the tournament so we make more money. What would be the big? Why not come out and say that?
They should. And here's the thing with it, and West Virginia's Ken Palm number was 51. Their net number, I think, no, their net number was 51. Their Ken Palm was 49. Sorry,
Okay.
I flipped that. North Carolina's was 35 for both. So even though they only
But
had
it's
one
like
quad
that
one
great.
win,
Yeah, it's that great win that Boise
yeah,
State, or great loss that Boise State had with Oregon.
yep.
It's not a win at all. How do you count a loss as a win? It makes no sense. Don't get me going, Dan. Don't get me going, Daniel. You know I can do this.
I know.
Mr. Ed Wayner checking in. How's Houston looking? Are they going to go in
Good.
and get past for the first? Let's see. Did they get past the first round last year? Not many Big 12 schools did.
They were in Sweet 16 last year.
Okay, Sweet 16.
And
you guys, you got to get to the final day, Mr. Ed Wayner. Houston needs to get there. Represent this conference that plays so tough all season long. Michelle Weintraub, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Another valuable member of the Mafia family saying, hey, all. Did you look something
a Mountaineer?
up?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Go ahead.
Who was it? Houston. They were number 1 seed overall last year. Right. They lost to Duke in the Sweet 16.
Okay. All right. So they have a little revenge on their mind then. Okay.
Yes.
I like that. Gives them something to play for. BYU football, that would be Shonsky. Good to see you, man. Hi, guys. Good to see you. Thank you for being a member around here with us. Antoine Johnson checking in. Hey, y'all. Good to see you. Thanks for showing up tonight, Antoine. We really appreciate it. Another valuable member of the Mafia family. Let's see. Chris G., who's become active the last couple of weeks. We appreciate it. Good to see you, Chris. Chris G., your ACC guy here. And yes, I believe West Virginia got hosed. You know, without North Carolina, the freaking ACC only got 3 teams in. So how is that conference, and losing in that conference over and over again, how does that make North Carolina look great?
I don't. There were millions of Mountaineers that were wanting the Aztecs to just beat up on the Tar Heels last night. I trust me on that. But the ACC is down because the SEC realized that they had basketball, and guess what? They're now spending money on basketball.
Have to.
Yeah, they have to. And
same with Utah's doing the exact same thing. They orphaned basketball, let it die on a vine, and now they have to invest big money to bring them back.
Yeah, and that's even though, like I said, the ACC spent more money than they knew what to do with when it came down to basketball, and their football programs were not great. I mean, Carolina's was not all that good.
Right.
Duke, not all that good. Wake Forest basketball is pretty good, but their football is irrelevant. Yeah. So whenever it comes down to spending money, that's just what happens, that you have to spend money on something. It was basketball for a long time.
I appreciate Chris G representing the ACC. Keep us straight here, Chris. If we say anything that is misrepresenting your conference, don't hesitate to put your hand up. I want people to check our balance, okay? I'm inviting you to do that, not just today. I'm talking about going forward. Don't hesitate to put your hand up if there's something that you hear that you want to counter, sort of. Jay Chapman representing the SEC and has been for a long time around here. We really appreciate Jay. He's been a long-time member as well. Yeah, West Virginia got screwed. Good old Bubba Cunningham secured his final summer home payment. Yeah, so I heard 2 numbers. I heard $104,000 bonus, and I heard a $68,000 bonus. Which of those 2 numbers is true? The $68,000 I got from Google. I just asked Google, and it came back with 68.
I cannot remember which national reporter it was, whether it was Pete Thamel or whoever, that said Bubba Cunningham got a $100+ million bonus for
$100,000.
I'm sorry, $100+ bonus for the Tar Heels getting into the NCAA tournament. The 68,000 I saw this morning, and maybe that's after taxes.
I saw it 2 days ago. It was 68.
Okay.
Somebody had reported 104, And then maybe an hour later it says, no, it's really 68. I double
Okay.
checked it with Google. I'm still not sure which it is. So if somebody actually knows, has a report from somebody who's a real reporter, somebody that, we could trust what they say to validate whether it's 68 or 104 or whatever, please let us know, because I want to get
Here,
that story
that
straight.
brings up a question I have. When did athletic directors start getting bonuses for what the teams do? I've never heard of
That
that
might be
until this
new.
weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard about it before, but certainly not from somebody who's got a conflict of interest that sits
Well,
on the committee itself. That should not be it. These things are double dipping. These are not okay. I hate it. I hate it so much. Jay Chapman says Florida versus Houston for the Natty. There you
I
go.
I could see that. They're both
Jay's on record.
great.
Brian Willie
Mhm.
says Wisconsin hit 19 threes versus UCLA. Go Black 45. Good to see you, man. Thanks for being a valuable member of the Mafia family, man. The only thing they can get is transcripts and videos from the committee. It's more for embarrassing the NCAA. Do we really need an excuse to embarrass the NCAA? Don't they do
That
that
will
all on
be
their own?
that will look like a Department of Defense FOIA request. It will be the tapes don't exist. Every page is blacked out.
Right.
You'll get
That would be
nothing.
awesome.
Yeah.
Antoine Johnson says, I believe Auburn, Texas Tech, BYU. Okay, BYU's in the Dukes region, I think.
Yes.
And Houston in my Final Four. Go Big 12. Let's get it done. Let's go. I would love to have 3 Big 12, especially BYU. I'd love that to be in the Final Four. I think we're a year off, everybody, for BYU. I think next year is going to be the year, but
They're going to do a good run. They're going to go
I
deep.
hope so. I really do hope so. Michelle Weintraub says it's about TV ratings. Yeah, that's usually what it's about. Let's see here. Lee checking in says, hello, y'all. Man, it's been a rough week for West Virginia. As a Penn State fan, I love to see it. I like that, Lee. That's good. That's good.
He
Never
might remember.
let up.
He might remember Pat McAfee talking quite a bit of poop whenever he was there in Morgantown before the Penn State game. That was fun to watch. And then WVU played awful.
Yeah, they did not look good. So then it's not great to watch. I don't know
Mm-mm.
about that. Okay, and then let's see. One more, and then we're going to get on to actually the story that we got together and we want to talk about. We're going to talk about sort of how the timing went through. Antoine Johnson says, screw basketball. Arizona State is a golf school. That's true.
That's hockey.
Lots of pretty. Is that hockey?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
that's a puck.
Okay, they are also a golf school, but okay. All right. I didn't know that. And Big Lubbock says, sup, good to see you, Lubbock. Thanks for being here, man. Okay, so let's quickly talk through the order of operations here and what happened for West Virginia getting left out of the tournament. And then I'll give you some time, Daniel, kind of how you felt as that time marched on and you realized you were going to be left out. So the games happen on Sunday, and not all the games are even completed, and they do their NCAA pick 68 essentially, and put them in different seeds. And the schools that were on the bubble were Texas, Indiana, North Carolina, and West Virginia. And of those, Texas and North Carolina got in, and West Virginia and Indiana got left out. Xavier, I think, was also on the bubble.
Yes.
And all those schools, you could go into a room, put all their resumes up, a room with nothing but white walls, take a marker and draw all their resumes, and they each had things that were for them and against them, right? Each one of those things kept them at a decent level so that then you could go and do a stare and compare, which is what I'm imagining they're supposed to be doing in the picking room. This is their job.
Yeah.
This committee's job is to do exactly what I just described. You take schools that are similar and try to parse facts to come up with the best picks possible. And the biggest argument against West Virginia was their best player, or somebody that they said was, even though is it Javian Small, I think is by far their best player now.
Oh yeah.
He that team was down a player. Essentially, that was the storyline that was being spun out into the world, when really that wasn't the case at all. They'd been without him for almost the whole season. So here now, West Virginia has won 6 games, in which arguably the toughest conference in America. That's not the ACC. And the Big 12 sends these schools onto the conference, or onto the to the big dance, and they're battle tested. They're ready to play. And you could imagine that they're going to draw big numbers because those people watch those teams play. Well, the pick that came out was, and I don't want to talk about Texas because I don't know much about that pick, but I do know now more about the West Virginia and North Carolina pick. And let's be very clear, we're not pitting North Carolina versus West Virginia. That's not the purpose of this. This isn't about saying one is better than the other, although I could make an argument. This is about you taking the balance of these two schools' resumes, and you're saying which is the better opportunity to go out and be successful. I would argue West Virginia did, because they beat Arizona at Arizona. They beat Kansas.
No, no,
Um,
no, no. The West Virginia Arizona game was a neutral site
Morgantown.
tournament game. No, neutral
Oh,
site
it's a
tournament game.
third. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it was at a third party location.
Yes.
Okay, but so is it Kansas? They beat in Kansas.
Yes.
Okay, who goes to Kansas and beats Kansas? That just
No
does
one.
not happen, right? So and then so they had 6, I believe, quad one wins. North
Yes.
Carolina had 1. So if we harken back 3 months ago to the way they picked teams for the college football playoff, it was the exact same argument. Is it strength of record or is it strength of schedule? What metric is the one that really people can lean on to say these are the teams we picked at large? These are the reasons we didn't pick these at large.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball has the exact same problem. They don't have anything written down that says if this, then this, if this, then this. And it's a math calculation. It makes the choices very easy. So now all of a sudden you add subjectivity to the entire mess. And okay, we come full circle. And the argument is that Bubba Cunningham is influencing the vote, whether he is or not. The appearance of malfeasance is there. And oh, by the way, he cashed a bonus check for his school, making it into the big dance. Okay. Did I miss anything, Daniel? Is there any detail that I left out that should be added?
Okay. As you saw during that game, and you were talking about why is West Virginia only using an 8-man rotation? That's all the healthy players that they had. The,
Right.
the from like the end of February, that roster was decimated with
Okay.
injuries. They were 6-9 the last 15 games that they had, and the last game that West Virginia played before Selection Sunday was where they just let Colorado just manhandle them in the second half in the Big 12 tournament.
It was a very bad look.
It was a very bad look.
Yeah.
And I am as diehard as you can get for Mountaineers. I that's the only college I've ever cheered for from the time that I was an infant. Some of the stuff that was said, I can understand a little bit, especially whenever it comes down to like one of the criteria is to look at the last 10 games a team plays before they go into the tournament as like a eye test type thing. They were 7-3 the last 10 games that they played. If they would beat Colorado, that would have given them their 20th win. Yeah, they would have lost to Houston the next day, but they would have had a 20th win. They would have been 19. Oh, I'm sorry. They would have been 20-13. That resume puts them in. Losing to Colorado does not help them at all. It stinks. And this reminds me a lot. And there's Mountaineers in the chat right there that remember the 07 backyard brawl. That game, right after that game, coach left. The team did go on to win a bowl game, but it's been, I wouldn't say rudderless, but it hasn't been the same team since before that game in 07. hopefully this isn't West Virginia's '07 backyard brawl for basketball, because now they're looking for a coach because they're not in the tournament. Why does Darren DeVries need to stay in Morgantown? I mean, I haven't seen the final numbers on how much he's signed for with Indiana, but it's going to be heavy. It's going to be big money because Indiana is not afraid to spend money on basketball. Yeah, it's rough. It's just how the world works. Like I said,
Okay. All right.
if they would have looked better.
So what you're saying is the Colorado game was the tipping point. That's what you're saying.
I think the Colorado game was the tipping point. If they would have looked better the last 5 games, I don't think it would have been a question they would be in.
Okay. All right.
But you saw that's a short pitch.
Yeah, I see. None of that matters to me. I understand what you're saying, and it makes common sense. And you get to tournament time, the leash is always pulled back on your bench. You always go shorter. It'll be rare if somebody goes 9, right? 8 is pretty standard. So I think it's a lousy excuse, and certainly doesn't represent. Let's just do this. Let's compare conferences. The ACC was arguably the weakest power conference. Not arguably, it was the weakest power conference. And has fallen leaps and bounds from where they were a decade ago. I mean, the ACC used to be the best basketball conference. Now it's the worst all of a sudden. North Carolina was 1-12 in that conference. It makes absolutely, for the ones that were quad 1 wins, that would have been wins that could have helped them, they only won 1 game. So this excuse that they picked, just like the Florida State deal with the quarterback, we didn't pick you because your quarterback got hurt. I mean, you guys are watching this. Does that sound like a reasonable explanation for leaving a team out of the? I mean, these guys play 30 games.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think 30 games is enough to know who you are?
Mm-hmm. He played 8 games.
Yeah, I just don't think that should matter. I get what you're saying, and you're being very, very nice. I'm not sure why, because I would be upset
because I don't want to drop a lot of F-bombs on the show. I mean,
well, it's not. I mean, it's not just to be rage to rage.
Yeah,
I mean, there has to be a reason for it, right?
I know.
Just being upset because they got left out without any reasoning is not what we're here for.
Yeah,
what I'm trying to break down is it a reasonable discussion to say West Virginia should have been left? Let's talk about Indiana. Indiana had a very similar roster to not roster, but the way that West Virginia played. You just swap conferences, and they're basically the exact same team. I would have taken either one of those over North Carolina.
And Indiana's brand value. Indiana's one of the big brands. Yeah. So it's either you can take UNC, you can take Indiana, one or the other one. I mean, they're both like big brands.
Yeah, I mean, they're both Indiana's blue blood basketball brand. Yes. There's absolutely no doubt about it. So, yeah, these are things that I think over time we need to get this sort of stuff sorted out. Really quick, what do you guys think? Is it okay for active administrators at these universities to be sitting in a committee room that determines the futures of the teams that they administer? How much sense does that make? Right? Let us know why it is okay for Bubba Cunningham to be sitting in that room. I'll tell you why it's okay today. It's because it's corruption. They've been doing it forever, and they'll keep doing it until somebody stops them.
They should do. They should have media members in there. Not like a Scott Van Pelt. He's a Maryland guy through and through. But just have media members in there and say, okay, this is the best team that we saw here. This is the best team here. Bring in like a Fran Fraschilla. I mean, heck, he's seen a million games.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. Which of football and basketball, which is the sport that has the more numbers that you could use to put into a formula to pick your March Madness teams?
Well,
Is it football or
basketball,
is it basketball?
well, basketball, you just have more games, so you can put
Well,
more
there's a lot.
numbers. Yeah,
Yeah,
just more numbers into the computer to get X result.
I think
Football's only
basketball has a
12.
ton more metrics, doesn't
Yes.
it? I think it does because you have average
Yeah.
assists per game, you have points per game, you have field goal percentage, all these things. At the end of the day, win-loss record should be number one.
Yes.
It shouldn't be the conference you belong to. That shouldn't have anything to do with it. If you're the best conference, those teams are going to show out anyway. So go out and compare apples to apples, right?
And this is what kind of blows my mind. The NCAA, or I can't remember who it was at the NCAA selection a couple of years ago, said that all these teams, all these teams out there need to get into these non-conference tournaments. You know, the ones that are in December, November, stuff like that, and bulk up on your quad ones, your non-conference quad ones. And West Virginia did that. They beat Gonzaga. They beat Arizona. That was in Atlantis. They lost to Louisville, and Louisville's a great team during that tournament. So they went through and they play these like the Maui Invitational. Every single year, you're going to see a UNC there in Maui. That's what kind of upsets me is that value of the quad one win of your best of the best schools that you have in NCAA is now devalued because UNC has exactly one more win than I do, and I don't play NCAA basketball.
Something fun too. I think you're right. I think what you just
Yeah.
said there is true. Some teams get invited to these invitationals, others don't. It's ironic that last night they beat San Diego State, who going into that game was a quad one win.
Yeah.
After they beat them, they weren't a quad one win anymore.
No.
So North Carolina is still 1-12 in quad one
Mm-hmm.
games. So it's like they can go out and win, and yeah, they want to gaggle of quad two games, but is that enough? Should that be enough? The out of conference games in basketball all of a sudden matter more than the out of conference games in college did in football. It just they just cannot make up their mind, and they make up the rules as they go, and I'm just tired of it.
You have a larger sample size with basketball because you
Yes,
can
I
play.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a
Yeah.
larger, there's so many more things you can throw in and so many more teams playing. 350 teams playing. You have a lot more cross-sectional games where you can say, okay, you can play the similar opponents game where you say,
Yes.
okay, you have two teams. Oh, but they both played the same team. And that during
Mm-hmm.
that team, those are all metrics, right? AI
Yes.
should be able to pick a 64, 68 team field, I would think. That's what I would do. I don't know how many simulations an AI ran, but I do know this: 111 of 111 independent bracketologists all had West Virginia in and North Carolina out.
North Carolina, I think, was on 27, and Texas was on like 50 some. I can't remember off the top of my head. I remember UNC.
But all of them had West Virginia.
Yeah, all of them had WVU.
Yeah, 111 out of 111. It's one thing if it's 10, right? Another thing if it's 30. But 111 bracketologists who all do the same. Joe Lunardi doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, just give me a break. It's broken. The whole system's broken. All right, let's get to some comments. So that's what we're talking about today. This show's not going to be super long because I don't want to just belabor something that's now we turn the page and move on.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to hear you guys' comments. So now's the time to put your comments and questions in. I'll try to get to as many as I can. If you want your comment to be read, be sure to be read. It'll have to be a super chat. Other than that, let's hit the ground running and let's see how many of these we can get through. First of all, Trent Brown, my brother's namesake. Ken Pomeroy said any AD on the committee should not be allowed to have a financial bonus incentive for their team making the tournament. Yeah, Daniel and I had never heard that before.
No, that was the first I heard Sunday evening. I'm like, that's new.
I mean, yeah, it's broken. That should not ever happen. Same thing with football. That should not happen in football either. Steele Austin in here representing the great state of Utah and University of Utah. And also, he got a new coach, Alex Jensen, Utah running Utes great, is in the house. He's now his head coach. You guys got to give him some NIL money, Steele, to be successful. Thanks for being a member. We appreciate you, Steele. NCAA tourney already includes 468 teams, which is more than enough. There will always be a team here or there that gets left out, but with 68 teams, they get 99% right.
Here's the thing. It is a national championship tournament. So if you're going to sit there and say, is UNC, is Texas, is Indiana a national championship contender? But then again, there's 68 teams. And the reason why is there's 32 basketball conferences. So that right there, you have to get a space for all of them. And oh yeah, by the way, the reason why it went to 68 is so that everybody else can get paid.
Can somebody explain to me in the comments why more teams is bad? It's more money.
It's not.
Why is it bad? Why is it a bad deal to include more teams that would be on a bubble anyway? It makes absolutely no sense. All the teams in the first 64 get buys. You're only playing the only ones that are playing that extra game are the ones that wouldn't have gotten in anyway. So who the hell cares? As long as it gives you guys more money, why should it matter if it's 128? Why is that such a big deal to people?
I think a lot of it is that it has, it's been 64, 65, or 68 since 1984.
Okay.
So we're talking 40 years of this format. And I don't know when you start diluting where you add teams in just to add.
Aren't the best teams going to win anyway?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Okay, so what does it matter then?
Yeah. If you go through the Final Four the past, I think somebody showed it up like past 25 years, on average, if you add up the seeding number for each team that's there, that average is 8. So you would have like a 1, 1, 3, 3.
Right.
Would be the average is what you would have for the
tournament. So what are people freaking out about then? Having extra teams.
I'm not a fan of it because it's going to take away from day 1, 2. Because tomorrow and Friday are just basketball gold.
But they played basketball yesterday. They're playing basketball.
They're playing
tonight.
Right now. Yeah, Mount St. Mary's.
So
American,
what does it matter?
Right now.
So what does it matter? I know you and I aren't going to solve this right now, Daniel. I just don't. Everybody is into this traditional. It's I grew up this way, and all these. None of that matters to anybody.
If they go to 76, you want to know something? I won't lose sleep over it. I'll just have to come up with a different way to do a bracket.
They could go to 96 tomorrow, which is just one more round of games, Tuesday, Wednesday, and everybody else gets a bye. You're only playing those 32 teams that weren't involved in the original pick, and make a bunch more money. I know this. But BYU, I want to get as much money back out of this as I can get.
So
that money goes to the conferences.
Yeah, you're going to kill the NIT.
The NIT's dead. The NIT is a dead tournament.
That NIT hasn't been relevant since.
No, it has since BYU won in 1952.
Yeah.
All right. Trent Brown also a $5 super chat. Thanks, Trent. SEC is finding out why Brett Yormark has known all along. Basketball has value, a lot of value.
Yes,
it does. It's not the same as football. Nobody's saying that, but it does bring a lot of value.
And it's killing the ACC, because they recruit in the exact same areas.
Steve Moser says lessens the importance of the regular season. How? That was same argument was made about the college football playoffs, Steve. And how many more people are watching the CFP now? Based on what? Steve, can you tell me what it's based on? You put in the comments why you think that is the case. I don't know that there's any data point you could point to that would show that to be the case. Let me ask you this: today, if West Virginia could have played North Carolina in a play-on game,
yeah.
how amazing would that game have been? Does that depreciate the beginning of the end of the season and the regular season in total? I
No.
mean, if you could have had Xavier play in Indiana for a spot, first four out, go and play ball.
That's the reason why that playing game started is that they had an uneven number of conferences at the time. And the way that worked was that they had 31 conferences, and out of that 31 conferences, they guaranteed X number of guaranteed winners and then X number of at-large bids to all the conferences. Where it was an odd number, guess what? They came up with that playing game at Dayton, and it has been big money for the NCAA.
Steve, let me answer this one directly. And I appreciate you saying this because a lot of people think this without really sort of working through the steps. So work through this with me while you're sitting at home. There hasn't been a lower seed to win the NCAA tournament than Villanova at a 9 seed. Okay. So
Correct.
if you do 4 times 9, that's the top 36. If you're going to just break it down by the best teams, the top 36 teams, there hasn't been one that's, no, is it 4 times 9 is what? I did my math wrong. It's not, is it 36?
Yes.
Okay. So top 36, they're the only ones winning tournaments. So anybody below a 9 doesn't have a chance anyway. In 60 years, they've never won a tournament. Not once. So does it really matter if you add a 75th or a 83rd or a 26th? No, it doesn't. It's just more games. You don't have to tune in. Just tune in on Thursday. It's like you won't even know they played games before. Those games would be done and dusted, and you'll just be seeing the top 64 teams. Does that make sense? I think
yes,
I'm explaining
it does.
that well.
It does. And like I just said, the average that you have into the Final Four over the past 20 years is 8. So that would be like a 1, 1, 3, 3. Every once in a while, you'll get like a 10 seed, but it doesn't happen all that much.
Yeah,
I
don't
loved
think it's a
watching.
concern.
I loved watching St. Peter's a couple of years ago get into the Sweet 16.
St. Mary's?
Yes. No. St. Pete, New Jersey.
I don't know who that is.
Well, I can't remember. Northeastern Conference, I believe.
Okay. I didn't pick them, obviously. I didn't
No,
know
no. They beat. I remember they beat Kentucky, and that was a really good Kentucky team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, and they were a 15. They have been the lowest ranked school to get into the Sweet 16 since they started seeding in 1984. A 15.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen rarely.
No, it's because best teams are recruited the best way. They're not.
Yeah.
The thing is the teams at the top all have the best players.
Mm-hmm.
How many can afford to pay $10 million in NIL a year? 20? Not many.
I was going to say probably. I was going to probably stay. Well,
it's probably
maybe
closer to 30.
maybe 30.
Yeah, I think it's probably closer to 30.
Yeah.
But the number is growing, right? Money's coming into basketball now. People see what it is. Yes. The SEC's figured it out, and they're going to make money at it. And so that's just going to continue to grow. I think basketball was on a decline because of the college football playoff. I think that decline is over. And I think money's going to come back into it again now with free NIL and transfers. And basketball is ready to bounce, which is a good timing for the Big 12 specifically, because Brett Yormark is driving that bus. He knows exactly what's going on. He knows what his schools need to receive to compete in March Madness, and he's trying to support that. This year, it should have been 8 teams. Last year, it was 8 teams. So that's half your conference, guys. Come on. Not everybody can be the SEC, and There's a lot of people that question those things. Anyway, Timothy Green checking in. Good to see you, Timothy. West Virginia in the house. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Bomber. Great show. Thanks, Timothy. I appreciate it. BYU football says Bomber 96 is the worst idea I've ever heard. That would be the worst basketball ever. The scheduling, travel, and expenses.
No.
I
You
don't.
could still no.
Go ahead.
The schedule and traveling, you could have it set up to where if you're going to play those extra 16 games, you could put those 4 games per region the day before in those tournament locations. You don't have to change travel. You don't have to change locations. You're renting the arena out for the week anyway. You're just adding another day of play into the schedule.
And the more teams and the more games you have, the more money they have to diffuse down to these schools and conferences, Shonsky. And I think they would just do regional travel, and you'd easily be able to have a first round. Essentially, there would be a first round bye for the top 64. Everybody else would play a play-in game. That's essentially what you're talking about. And I realize what you're saying. Nothing's free, but I don't think it's enough to stop it. I can't think of a reason, unless these teams just don't want to play the extra game, and then that's on them at the end of the day. But 96, I don't know. I like 128, man. Let's go an extra 2 days. College Football Express, good to see you here. I'm not sure if that is if that's rock and rant or if that's going to be flow. Good to see you guys. Doesn't matter equals it's hope. First 2 days are the best either way.
I 100% guarantee it is absolutely sports gold.
I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. I get it. I love these comments, though. I love this ongoing conversation because I think it matters. People have these questions. Steve Moser again, expansion with second best teams from minor leagues would be fine, but we know that they wouldn't do that. They would just include terrible teams from the power leagues. Defeats the purpose of January and February.
No.
Higher seeds have better draws, Steve.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it is where's your. I was almost at West Coast Conference, but they got 2 teams in. But like a Big West, where does MEAC stand in this? Where does a SWAC stand in this? Where's a Big South stand in this? There's still going to probably be 1 bid leagues, even at 96. What they might want to do is make it to where some of these smaller mid-majors, like if your Kim Palm conference number is blank, we'll give you a second seed to get in. Or a lot of times, like the team that had the number 1 regular season record gets bounced in the conference tournament, have it to where both of those 2 schools can go in one of these 1 bid leagues. But even then, I don't know. It still would be a mess to try to pick them.
Yeah, I don't know. If they go to 96, they'll complain. They'll complain who's 97. If you go to 128, they'll complain who's 129. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, those things aren't what should stop an idea like that. It all comes down to, can they make the organization work, and they can minimize travel. I think those 2 are reasonable things to be concerned about. Clint Moses checking in for Oregon State in the house. Oregon State Beavers, a valuable member of the Mafia family for a long time. UNC earned it. Watch the film, not the analytics. So it's the eye test, Clint. You're all about the eye test. Not about wins and losses.
Yeah.
Not about stats. Not about the conference that you're in being down. Not very good, essentially. You just want the eye test to be the thing you vote on.
I saw 1 UNC game, and that was against Duke last week. They did not look good. But I don't know what else.
They looked good last night.
Yeah, they looked great last night.
I would not want to play North Carolina right now. I think what we're going to find out is North Carolina is a good team. They didn't play like it during the season, and they could go deep into this tournament. There's no doubt about it. But we were talking about at the beginning of the show, do they deserve to be there? And I personally believe other teams deserve to be there more. That's my opinion. You can disagree. I think Daniel agrees with me
Yeah.
because his school would have benefited.
Oh yeah.
Opie Didon checking in, giving us some fact checks. I appreciate that, Opie. The 98,000 is for them making the tournament. The 104 is if they make the Sweet 16. So
Okay.
I don't know. These numbers now I'm hearing 98. I've heard 68. I've heard, unless that's a typo, unless he meant 68 there.
I saw the
Anyway,
104 number
I've never
Sunday.
seen 98. So I'm thinking maybe that was supposed to be a 6. One more comment from Opie. Bubba made 68 for men. Oh, so it is a typo then.
Okay.
68 for men making the tourney, and the same women's making the tourney. So nice paycheck. Also, Hubert Davis got $100,000 for UNC making the big dance per Sportico. I have no problem with coaches getting bonuses. I don't even have a problem with Bubba getting a bonus for his school being. I just don't think he should be on the committee. If you're going to receive a bonus like that, you should not be on a committee that votes to who gets to participate.
Coach bonuses have been around forever.
Well, they should be there. Yeah. That's what they're. Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Ed Wayner, if the NCAAs expand, do you agree with your mark with 76 teams? In my opinion, go with 72 and then top 8 buys to Sweet 16. Then have 64 teams play first week. And we have 3 sets of games, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. No, my opinion, Ed, and then I'll ask Daniel, I don't think you should have I don't think essentially you should get a double bye. I think 64 should be everybody.
Yeah, that right there would be a scheduling. I'm sorry, Ed. That will be really difficult to schedule because now there's so many moving pieces with who gets this by, where are they going to do this for the tournament? Because all these sites have been selected years in advance, and they got 4 sites for the first round. 8 sites for the first round. They got 4 sites for the Sweet 16 and regional final. Then you got the Final Four. They've picked these things years ago. So now, where are those games going to be played at before the Sweet 16? Now you're going to have so many shuffling pieces, and then all of a sudden you're giving teams 2 weeks off. Yeah, because by the time the conference final starts to the time the Sweet 16 starts, that's 2 weeks.
I think Ed is speaking for his own self-servingness here because he's a Houston fan and they're always in the top 10. So they would always get that bye. I think that's great, Ed, that you say that, but I don't think they should do that.
I got Houston win the whole thing.
That's my opinion. Yeah, Houston's very, very good. They are very, very good. They took apart BYU, and BYU was on a roll. So they earned a lot of my respect that day. MVM says college football 2025 did exceptionally well. Yeah, it did. That video game was extremely popular. Yeah, it did a great job. We'll have to see what this next one looks like. Hopefully it's improved. All right, I'm going to do one more comment, and then we're going to get out of here. So if you have any other comments really quick, I can do a super chat with you. Go ahead and pop it, and I'll bring it up right now. Other than that, let me get to a couple other regular comments, and then we're going to close this thing out tonight. I think some people are going to watch some games tonight, so I don't want to screw that up. So quickly, let's see here. MVM says snubbing is one thing, but what happened Sunday was corruption, plain and simple. I would tend to agree with MVM here. Yeah, I would agree with that. And Michelle Weintraub, last comment. West Virginia got sucker punched and then was kicked when they were down. Do you feel that way?
Yeah. And Michelle's a fellow Mountaineer, so yeah.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Yeah, it's a little bit of an abbreviated show, but just a programming note, these next 3 weeks, we're going to have to sneak shows in when we can because the tournament's going. I will be having a show probably Tuesday and Wednesday next week. And we will be having an early show. Well, I think we're going to have a big freaking Friday show. That'll be 7 p.m. Eastern. But watch me and Wild Dude, watch my team's Twitter feeds, and we will let you know whether that show is going to go on or not. I don't know if we want to compete with the tournament or not. And I know last year we had a show and we had like 80 people watching it, and that's
Hmm.
fine. I'll do a show for 80 people. But I haven't talked to the team yet. So I'm going to assume we're going to do a show on Friday night. If not, you'll hear a notice from us, and I won't keep you hanging. And then next time you can catch me next Tuesday night here at 8 p.m. and we'll have another Big 12 Mafia show, and we'll try to get back into realignment and how that affects the Big 12 based on what's going on with the ACC, etc. So I am Nathan Bomber Brown. This is my contributor extraordinaire, Daniel Gygax. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Please stay safe, travel well, and support your teams in basketball. And we will see you guys probably Friday night. Bye bye.